Can you feel it too? This camp is giving Patriots fans back something that had been missing, hope with a reason behind it. This isn't empty excitement. It's the thrill of watching overlooked players turn one small opportunity into real pressure on the roster. Patriots Nation, listen closely. These 4 stories are about players who have no guaranteed place, yet keep forcing Foxborough to look twice. We're breaking down how one improbable play, one relentless receiver, and 2 rookie tight ends could shape some painful decisions. Subscribe and follow this fight with us. For a moment, the play looked dead. Tommy DeVito targeted Tejan Palmer. The ball slipped through his hands, and the rep seemed over. Miles Montgomery saw the opening first. He flew up the sideline, secured the deflection, and took it nearly 50 yards. Coordination, reflexes, awareness, all in one instant. It made a team scrimmage feel much bigger than practice. I love it because Montgomery's situation is brutally simple. Nobody is clearing room for him out of kindness. Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson hold the top 2 spots in the backfield. Behind them, Terrell Jennings, Lan Larison, and Jam Miller are already fighting to become the 3rd option. Montgomery didn't enter that race backed by major investment or a promise of patience. He has to rip every additional rep away from competitors who are battling for their own survival too. That's what gave the play of the day so much emotional weight. The pass wasn't intended for him. The design didn't choose him as the star. Montgomery put himself in the middle of the moment because he stayed alert while the execution was breaking down. For a running back trying to survive in a crowded room, that detail may matter almost as much as the 50 yards. Coaches want explosiveness, of course. They also want players who can rescue a bad situation without losing control. The next part is less glamorous and far more decisive. One summer highlight gets people watching. It doesn't hand anybody a roster spot. Montgomery still has to show pass protection, ball security, consistent vision, and value when the offense isn't creating a cinematic opportunity. Even so, he changed the feeling around this competition. Before that deflection, his name was outside the conversation trying to force its way in. After it, every other contender had to recognize another threat coming up the sideline. I'm not interested in romanticizing the underdog story by itself. I want merit to win. If the Patriots say this camp is a real competition, a play like that has to buy Montgomery more opportunities. He already handled the hardest part, turning somebody else's mistake into the most memorable moment of the scrimmage. Every touch after this carries a different kind of weight. The emotion came from improvisation. The roster spot will be decided by repetition. Efton Chisholm III is creating a different kind of discomfort. The projected roster no longer matches what the field keeps saying. A few months ago, a reasonable receiver group included A.J. Brown, Romeo Doubs, Kyle Williams, Kayshon Boutte, Mac Hollins, and Demario Douglas. Chisholm's start to camp has shoved a 7th name into that conversation. Not because he has a good story, because he keeps showing up. He's getting opportunities with the starting offense, becoming a frequent target with the 2nd unit, and mixing into the work at both kick and punt returner. That changes the evaluation. A player sitting on the roster bubble can't prove only that he can catch passes. He needs multiple paths to being useful on Sunday. The more jobs Chisholm handles without his performance falling off, the harder it becomes to justify cutting him simply because the room is crowded. But Patriots Nation, this is where things get really interesting. His rise runs into Boutte's situation. There's a belief that a trade before week 1 could create the opening Chisholm needs to stay on the roster in year 2. That scenario makes sense as a roster-building possibility, but it still depends on a decision New England hasn't made based on the information we have. This is where fans should feel the conflict. Keeping everyone protects depth and competition. Moving Boutte would reshape the room and could create value somewhere else on the roster. Emotionally, I want Chisholm rewarded right now. When a player spends the summer maximizing reps with the starters, producing with the backups, and accepting work on special teams, he is doing everything asked of someone trying to stay. It would be painful to watch that effort end only because the math looked settled before camp began. Supporting Chisholm, though, doesn't mean pushing Boutte out the door in a rush. The front office has to decide whether a potential offer truly makes the Patriots better and whether the other receivers provide enough security for a long season. This battle could affect Drake May even when his name isn't leading the headline. A young quarterback needs talent, but he also needs trust throughout the rotation. Chisholm is trying to prove he can step in without cooling off the offense, find open space, and help create field position. If he keeps producing with different units, he won't merely be asking for the final spot. He'll force the coaching staff to explain why carrying 6 receivers creates more value than carrying 7, or what move would make room for him worth it. Camp never promised Chisholm anything, and that may be what makes this climb hit so hard. Every target carries urgency. Every return adds to his case. Every rep with the starters chips away at the old projection. Patriots fans know this feeling. First, a player looks like a fun August story. Then he starts looking like someone the team would regret letting go. Chisholm is getting dangerously close to that second category. Eli Raradin came into the summer carrying a responsibility he never asked for. Julian Hill's season-ending spring injury moved the Notre Dame rookie up the pecking order before camp even began. For a tight end who didn't post eye-popping receiving numbers in college, that jump could have created hesitation. Instead, Raradin is turning a roster need into a chance to prove his game may be bigger than his old production suggests. He caught 3 passes from Drake May in the scrimmage. That detail brings this story right to the heart of the offense. Raradin stands 6'6", giving him the kind of frame that can become a difficult target in the middle of the field. If he learns to use that length against linebackers and safeties, May could gain a valuable answer in the areas where space and time disappear fast. Nobody has to crown the rookie early to recognize the possibility. Raradin has openly said he's still learning the system, and the field makes that visible. To me, that honesty makes his growth even more compelling. He isn't pretending to have mastered everything. He's producing while processing new language, sharpening roots, and learning his responsibilities. There are mistakes and details to clean up, like there are for every rookie. 3 connections with the starting quarterback in a scrimmage still suggest that trust may be starting to form. I want to hear from Patriots fans on this one. Has Raradin already earned the title of biggest offensive surprise in camp, or are you waiting for the preseason before buying in? Tell me in the comments, because this debate isn't about handing out crowns in August. It's about recognizing when a player turns a door opened by a teammate's injury into legitimate progress. Based on how Raradin has responded so far, nobody should dismiss his rise as nothing more than necessity. Tanner Arkin isn't gaining ground with one play that takes over the highlight reel. His argument is heavier, repetitive, and deeply Patriots. Block well enough that the offense trusts him on the field. The undrafted rookie out of Illinois arrived without the shine of a high draft pick, but his work attached to the line already has him positioned as the current favorite for the TE3 role, before he has even made his preseason debut. Blocking doesn't deliver the emotional rush of a long reception. An offense feels it immediately, though, when a tight end can't hold the edge, loses leverage, or allows pressure to wreck the design. Arkin has looked good in pass protection and run blocking. That consistency earned him snaps with the starting offense. When an undrafted player starts sharing the field with the top unit, the conversation has moved beyond curiosity. Trust is being tested in real time. What makes the story even more encouraging is that Arkin has also caught a few passes with the first team. He doesn't need to become a high-volume weapon to earn his place. If he can block reliably and still offer a functional option when he releases into a route, the defense loses a clue. The Patriots can keep heavier personnel on the field without announcing through the formation whether they plan to run or pass. That ambiguity holds real value for an offense that needs to protect May without becoming predictable. There's something special about the contrast between Arkin and Raradin. One is drawing attention with his size and his connections over the middle. The other is growing through work people often notice only when it goes wrong. They don't have to compete through the exact same identity. Depending on how the roster is built, they could provide complementary answers. Raradin as a developing mismatch target, Arkin as a physical piece who can support the run, hold up in protection, and appear as an option when the defense forgets him. The emotion still has to travel with real demands. Arkin hasn't played his first preseason game yet. Live contact, the speed of the adjustments, and his response after a mistake will reveal much more than being labeled an August favorite. The coaching staff can like what it sees now and still demand confirmation when the opponent isn't cooperating in a practice setting. Even with that caution, the meaning is powerful. New England lost Julian Hill and could have treated tight end depth as a problem to hide. Raradin and Arkin are offering another possibility. Turn a painful absence into a competition that reveals 2 useful young players. One was drafted, the other never heard his name called. Right now, the field is allowing both of them to speak with the same authority. Maybe this is what has so many people reconnecting with this camp. 4 players with no protection from status refusing to be background characters. Montgomery rescued a broken play. Chisholm shook up the receiver projection. Raradin answered an unexpected promotion. Arkin turned blocking into an argument nobody can ignore. We don't know where all 4 will stand when the roster closes, but we know Foxborough now has tougher choices, and better teams are built when cuts hurt. Patriots Nation, tell me what you think. Which of these rises connected with you most? Comment, subscribe to Patriots Club Fans, and remember, this space belongs to you too.